Today we're being joined by Abbey Martin, who's been amongst Swans VFLW side. Abbey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Tell us a bit about yourself. What got you into footy and what type of player you are?
Yeah, so I started footy about 7 years ago now. Previously played soccer, so I've got a history of soccer. Played that for about 10 years, and then made the transition into AFL. And it was actually some family friends that kind of recommended footy for me. I kind of fell out of love with soccer and just wanted a bit of a new challenge. So, they recommended I give AFL a crack and absolutely loved it and haven't really turned back since.
Nice. That's good. So, obviously, when you made that transition over to footy from soccer, falling out of love with soccer, was it more so that you saw other people doing footy? What kind of lost that passion to soccer, and then with the people that convinced you to play footy?
Yeah, so I played a bit of high level soccer in my youth. So kind of just I think the pressure of all of that kind of got to me a little bit. And then just wanted a bit of a new challenge, wanted something new. Didn't really think that soccer was my sport in the end, and kind of went through a bit of a big growth spurt, I guess you'd say. And family friends just said to me, "Do you want to give AFL a go?" And they grew up playing AFL, and they were a big AFL family. So I'd say they were definitely the ones that kind of turned my head, I guess you'd say, and gave me the opportunity to get into footy. And then had my first game with Borkham Hills Hawks in under 15s, and just loved it. I thought the concept was awesome. I loved that you could be athletic and run and tackle, but you could also show off your skills with marking, kicking, hand passing, whatever it was. It was just a game that required more than just one skill set. So I think that was really what stood out to me.
For sure. So obviously now been playing footy in Sydney, how in New South Wales. How was that time been playing a level of football in New South Wales?
Yeah, so I've loved the opportunities that I've had playing footy here in New South Wales. So I play locally with the East Coast Eagles in Women's Premier Division for AFL Sydney, and I think just being involved with such a good club and such a club with such a good foundation. We've got fantastic coaches, a fantastic set of girls in the squad, and just everyone wants to be there for the right reasons. And I think it really created an environment for growth and development. And I think that that's something that I really needed, obviously being new to the sport. And I think that that's something that this club, being East Coast, has offered me a lot. But also I've had, like you mentioned, a few opportunities to play some representative footy as well. And I think just seeing the level of footy in New South Wales, probably compared to other states, has been a little bit of an eye-opener. But I think it's something that is continually developing and is only getting better each year.
So now we fast-tracked Abbey to playing with the Swans VFLW side on the weekend at a train-on, but getting an official debut in the club's first ever appearance. As you know, I went to that game and watched it, and I thought, obviously the side was very dominant, but how were you first told that you'd be playing in this game, and how cool was it not only to be playing at that VFLW level, but essentially being one of only a few, if the rest of them being the AFLW girl, well, some of the AFLW girls?
Yeah, so I was called in, had a chat with Scott and Kate, the manager, at training, and they just kind of pulled me aside and said, "Oh, you're going to be playing first week against the Bulldogs," and stuff like that. And I was just over the moon. I was really hoping to get a game in, but for it to be that first one against the Dogs was unreal. I think just having that opportunity was just something that you can really only dream of when your dreams to play AFLW, and then getting to play alongside some of those girls was just a memory that you can't miss. So absolutely loved it.
That's right. I mean, you might have technically played in the term in the grade called VFLW, but really, I know the Bulldogs didn't have any AFLW girls playing, but you basically played in an AFLW team on your end, at least.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I think the girls definitely had my back out there, and it was really good having them talk to me and talk through structures and everything, and helping me be in the right place at the right time. So massive shout out to all the girls.
Sure. Obviously, How did it feel in the lead up to that game? Obviously, when you said you got told by Scotty Gowans, the Swans coach, and then obviously manager is Kate as well. So how was that feeling when you were told you actually will be playing in that?
Yeah, I was just over the moon. I think at first it was definitely excitement and a bit of not disbelief, but a bit of shock. To be quite honest with you, I obviously, like I mentioned, was hoping to get a game, but when you first get told, it really kind of sinks in, and then I think from there it was just nerves. To be honest, up until that first bounce, I'm someone that gets a little bit nervous pre-game, so it was really important for me to just kind of put my head down and focus on getting my game day routine right and training hard in the weeks leading up to that to make sure I was putting my best foot forward on game day.
For sure. How did you feel personally you went in that game? Because I thought besides the AFLW girls, it was only yourself, Senna, in Imogen as well. And I thought all three of you outside the AFLW girls really impressed. And it's really good for you girls to, have that opportunity and play alongside those girls and, compete with those girls that are in your team as well in terms of how you're going.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I thought I played a pretty good game. I was happy overall with my performance. I thought I played my role within the team and within the structure down backs pretty well. Obviously, had my moments where little skill errors happen and things like that. But I thought overall my decision making and my composure with footy in hand was something that I was happy with my own personal performance.
And also, I'm sure this makes it even better. Not only are you playing for the side that you've been a part of, but then you're playing alongside names like, just to name a few, Laura Garner, Montana Hamiltons. It's just that I'm sure that just made that occasion for you even more sweet on top of everything else.
Oh, 100%. Those girls are all absolute superstars on and off the field and certainly made me feel welcome at the club and at training and then especially on game day as well. So it's, absolutely unreal to have taken the field with some of those girls.
That's right. So how do you feel going into, because I know the Swans aren't fully in that VFLW competition. So what's the kind of the plan for the next 4 games? Like if you weren't in it, how's it go about, or how's that all going to be for you? How's that work when you've got, it's not a full-on season for the Swans and Giants in this case, where then you've got that other football level that you play as well around all that?
Yeah, so it's just in particular managing load between trainings at the moment. So I do 2 nights a week with the Swans and then 1 night a week with my club team. And then selection is just based on where I'll play each week. So if I get selected to play with the Swans, I'll go and obviously play with them in the VFL matches that they're involved in. And then if I'm not selected to play those rounds, I'll go and play Premier Division footy with my club East Coast. Just constant communication between the coaches and then, just trying to put my best foot forward on every opportunity that I get.
So you mentioned when Scott and your manager told you that you would make your debut in the VFLW competition. How did the opportunity to be a part as a train-on at Sydney, how did that conversation start?
So that really came about through my manager. I'm signed with Strategy 1 Sports Management. So my manager, Trevor and Alec, kind of put that one together and did a lot of hard work getting my name out there and just seeing if the Swans were interested in having me in a bit of a train-on situation. And did a few trial weeks with them, and then Scott and Kate confirmed that they were happy with where I was at and they thought I had something to offer. They offered me a train-on spot in the VFLW squad. And then, like I mentioned, it was just selection for round 1 from there.
So what are some goals you set for yourself this year? Obviously, I'm sure this was part of some goals. Was that one of your goals, and what are some of your other goals heading into this year?
Yeah, so definitely being a part of a train-on squad was definitely one of the big goals for this year. I think just putting myself in an elite environment was one of my biggest areas that I think I needed to develop on. I think that I'm doing a lot of things outside of club training and stuff with the Swans that I'm trying to develop personally in. So whether that's in the gym, whether it's eating, whether it's getting skill sets right. And I think for me, just being in that elite environment, seeing how they work, how they train, how they do things was something that was really important to me and was a really big goal of mine. So to have achieved that this early on in the year was obviously something that I was really proud of. But for me, I think it's just having a really good and standout year in my local footy competition. So I really want to be top tier player in AFL Sydney and really use that as a main driver of my growth this year. I think that I'd like to think I had a pretty good year with East Coast last year. So I just want to continue to grow off that. And then for me, it's also one of my big goals is just putting on a little bit of size and putting on a little bit of strength just to kind of compete with the bigger bodies that you tend to come up with at the higher levels of AFL.
For sure. Who's kind of taken you under their wing, I suppose, at the Swans of the girls that you either played alongside or some that didn't play on the weekend? Obviously, being a trainer obviously can be very daunting. I mean, I hear all these stories about people that are in this position, and it's great to see that, or at least the ones I've heard, that they treat you like you're already one of them. They're not treating like, oh, you're just a random person filling in. They're treating you like you are one of them official players.
Yeah, for sure. And like I've felt so welcomed at the Swans, and that's something that I'll forever be grateful for to all the girls and the staff as well. Like that, not only do they have a really good squad of girls there, but every staff member says hello to you as you walk past, and always has time for you and is there to help. So really, really grateful for how welcoming they've all been. But I'd probably say the one person in particular on the weekend was probably Alana Woodward, or Woody as we tend to call her, absolute superstar down back, and just someone that couldn't have enough time for me, and any question I've had, whether it's been at training or on the weekend, was happy to answer and happy to help me out. So yeah, I'd probably say Woody.
Sure. And I mean, obviously, again, outside of playing with the girls at that level, it's good to have some experienced players to around that. Obviously, you had some of the young guns playing, but then you mentioned girls like Alana who are very experienced, Tanya Kennedy, some of those, well, not older, but not old, but older, more experience from the experience side of things. It must be so beneficial having someone like that, those type of girls as well.
Yeah, like they've had so much experience in the AFL world, and a few of them have been around since day dot. So just having their experience to learn off and just being able to ask them questions and develop off their experiences is absolutely unreal, and I'd say like unbuyable experience.
So how has it been at some of the trains? Because obviously, as you know, the AFLW season, pre-season side of things hasn't started, but a lot of them have come back in bits and pieces. Some are overseas, some are injured. So how's the training been working with them? Have you been generally with a lot more of the ones that didn't play on the weekend that have been training? How's that training setup been?
Yeah, training's been awesome. I know as a trainer, like we're involved twice a week. But I believe the Swans have different practices for the AFLW girls. We that tends to be kept pretty internal of who's training and who's not. But yeah, like it's been great to be surrounded by those girls and be learning off them.
For sure. Now, you spoke slightly there before about strengths of yours you want to improve on. What are some of your biggest strengths as a footballer?
I'd definitely say my contest in the air. I'm not afraid to crush a pack, so definitely something that makes me a pretty unique player. I'm also 6'1", which certainly helps. With aerial contests and marking. But I would also just say like my ability to kick the footy and just stay composed under pressure, I think is something that really makes me stand out on a footy field.
That's good. Now, throughout your whole football journey, Abby, what would you say is some of your best footy accomplishment? It can be individual awards or premierships you've had throughout your whole level of footy. As you said, you moved from soccer to footy. Has there been any successful premierships or accolades that you've won throughout your time so far?
Yeah, so definitely back-to-back premierships with East Coast. So had the win first up in 2022, which was awesome. My first premiership as an athlete as well across soccer and AFL. So that was unreal to get the first one, and then to go back-to-back last year and get the premiership win against UTS was something that the girls were really striving for, and we worked really hard to achieve. So that was definitely a highlight moment. And then just following on from that, in terms of that season, I think being named in Team of the Year for AFL Sydney last year as a personal accolade just to go with the back-to-back premierships. Both really are standout highlight moments for me.
For sure. I mean, obviously they're very important. But how were you talking about nerves for this VFLW debut, Abby? How were the premiership ones? Because yes, it's a different level, but in terms of the game itself, obviously it's it's a great final. So it's like, how do you feel with nerves? You mentioned about nerves for this game. How are you with those type of games as well?
It's quite funny, actually. I get nervous no matter what game I play. So I could be playing a round 1 game, I could be playing round 6, could be playing VFLW, could be a premiership game. Like, I get nervous no matter what. And I think that's actually kind of helped me over the years because I've just learned to adapt to having those nerves because I get them every week. So I think that's really helped me. But there's obviously that slight added pressure on grand final day where you really want to bring out your best performance to make sure you really play your role for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. That can be awesome. I mean, I'm personally the same, Abby. I mean, I don't play footy now, but I just do cricket at the moment, and I'm always the same. No matter if it's a big game, no matter if you not even stressed mentally, but physically, you just feel like oh god, not again. I don't know why. I don't know if you're similar with that side of things, but it's just like, oh god, like I'm not nervous. It's just I feel nervous all the time. I don't know. It's hard to explain if you're not. I suppose if you're not someone that is like that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm someone that, like I mentioned, pretty big on game routines. So I found that that's really helped with the nerves on game day. And like I've got a step-by-step that I tend to follow before every game. So I've found that that's really helped calm the nerves on game day.
Yeah, I'm after so many years, I think I'm finally starting to feel less nervous now, which is finally, things taken over 10 years, but okay, finally got there. All right, so who would you say is some of your favourite teammates at any of the clubs you've been a part of?
That's a tough one. I love all my teammates, and I think like both at East Coast and at Swans, like I'm surrounded by an amazing bunch of girls. But I'd probably say Brooke Bailey from East Coast and also Swans as well. She's in the VFL train on squad with me. Also happens to be my best friend outside of footy, so I'd have to go with her.
That's good. Well, that just makes it even better than Abby. How beneficial is it to have someone that you play footy with and best friends with, having that Swans premium? So I'm sure that would have made it less stressful, I guess, having someone at that training. I'm sure at the first time, I'm assuming you went at the same time. So in terms of when you started, so it would make that transition a much more calmer.
Yeah, for sure. No, I remember, and she'd be able to tell you this, me rocking up to that first one session, I was nervous as anything. I knew a few of the girls from previous games of footy that I've played, but hadn't seen a fair few of them in a good few years, and she really made me feel welcome amongst the group and introduced me to a lot of the girls, and was taking me through like the warm-ups and stuff when I didn't really know some of the exercises, so really made that transition a lot smoother for me. So yeah, can't thank her enough.
That's right. That is a true definition of a best friend right there, Abby.
Definitely.
Sure. Now, nicknames. What nicknames do you get at the club that you like or dislike? Is there any particular nicknames that you get you don't mind, or they're just nice and basic?
I'm pretty basic. Full name's Abbey, so I just tend to get Abs. Is usually the main one. Had a few rogue ones over the years where a few of the girls thought my name was actually Abigail, and they thought my nickname was Abby. So some of the girls started calling me Gail, which was not a very nice one. Tends to just be Abs is the nickname.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, I can see why they make that mistake, but that's not on them. That's not good enough. Now, coaches' pets. Is there any coaches' pet? Now, I've had the privilege of knowing Scott a little bit, and having him on the podcast. So, does Scotty have any coaches' pets while you've been there, or any at your local club that have any? Is there any coaches' pets?
I don't think so, actually. I haven't picked up on any yet, so I'm not too sure, but none that I've come to realise as of yet.
No, that's good. That's what you want. Now, what do you feel, Abby, is the best ever individual game you've had that's got you into the position that you're in there? Like, is there any? If there's not any individual game, is there any key standout a month, patch of form, or a year that strikes out to you that's probably got you to where you are currently?
I'd probably say last year for me. Last year was a massive development year for me. I was really consistent in my performance and really think I found good form, especially early on in the year. Started the season really strong, which kind of set me up for a really strong season with East Coast. Definitely also brought in some opportunities playing in the under 22s reps team this year, and that was kind of selected based on last year's performance. So I think last year as a whole was a really good performance year from me, and something that I'm using as a really good base to kind of grow off this year.
I know, so that's good. So obviously, being a part of a team like the Swans, and I mean, I could list off so many names that I've had on. Probably had more Swans players on than I've had at any club, and I just see they talk about that Swans blood culture, Abbey, all the time, and I think I don't know what you think, but I think it's probably, of all the people I've ever had on from a club point of view, I think they'd probably be the best group in terms of how tight they are, because, you know, you hear about all these stories about clubs, you know, that some people have a go at each other and all this stuff, but you never said the Swans. I see all these jokes. Last year comes to mind. The Swans girls were right in front of this, right in front and centre, trying to jump scare people and things like that. I just think the culture there just looks amazing. And I'm sure you know that too.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've mentioned before, like all the girls are just unreal. The staff are unreal. Like I know it's super early days for me. Like I've only been around the group for a short period of time, but I've already come to realize how good the culture is at the club. So it's something that's really exciting and really makes me happy to be a part of it.
That's right. That's for sure. Leadership aspirations, Abby, is that something you've ever been a part of at any level that you look to get into?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I've certainly had leadership roles over the years. I've captained a few sides or been in the leadership group over the years. So it's definitely something that I'm interested in, and it's definitely something that I strive to achieve as well. I think for me, at the moment, I'm putting a really big focus into my footy and developing that. So the leadership kind of thing has taken a bit of a backseat in terms of my role within the team, but I like to think that everyone on the team is a leader, and I'm someone that is really big on you lead by example of what your actions do, not necessarily just what your words say. So like I'd like to think I'm still someone that people can look up to.
Sure, that's right. You don't need the title of a leader to be a leader. Yes, it's great to have the title, but just because you don't have the title doesn't mean you have any more of a say than someone with the title has.
For sure.
That's right. Now, who loves the limelight, the attention, the camera? Oh, they're at the Swans or at your local club, and they can't get enough of it. They know exactly what to do when that camera's around.
Ooh, that's a tough one. See, the girls at East Coast are a bit fond of handing out media fines, but I'm going to have to say Laura Moran and Caitlin Davidson are pretty good in front of the camera. Always good laugh. And Laura's definitely the one that comes around at training with the camera and the microphone. She leads a lot of our media stuff at the club. So she's definitely someone that, always loves to play jokes and, kind of get the media flowing. So I'd have to say those two.
That's fair. What's something, Abby, someone does at the club that you can't stand, whether that's leaving rubbish around, just being flat out annoying, jump scaring people? Obviously, the Swans girls are known to do that. Well, at least last year they were. Is there something that ticks you off that someone does at the club or just in general?
I don't know if anyone specifically does it, but I'm just not a fan of the long socks. I just can't get amongst long socks. No one does it that I've come across at Swans, and no one does it that I've come across at East Coast in terms of my team specifically. I'm just not a fan of the long footy socks. It's got to be the Cruise.
The nice and short ones, not the. So what if they've? Okay, what about this then? If they got those long socks but they have them down, is that okay, or is it just completely?
It's not as bad as if they're up, but definitely a big fan of the Cruise socks.
That's fair enough. What outside of footy interests do you have? Obviously, you mentioned you previously played soccer. Outside of the footy, is there any outside of footy interests that you have?
Yeah, so definitely a big fan of the beach. Just love being outdoors. Spending time with family and friends. I'm someone that's quite social and like to catch up with friends and family frequently. So any spare time I have is usually spent with them. But yeah, definitely the beach and warm weather is definitely something that I love outside of footy.
That's fair. Every Perth person I ever have on, male or female, they always mention the beach. And I know you're in Sydney, but like they always mention, and I know why they. You're talking about hot and beach. I mean, that's just Perth to a T.
Oh, for sure. No, I've actually had the pleasure of going to Perth before. So, yeah, they've got some really outstanding beaches there and warm weather all the time. So, certainly quite jealous of them as we're kicking into winter and they're still seeing some nice 30-degree days.
Yes, that's right. And what's so funny about Perth, I've never been there before, but I went late in Feb for the WWE. There's at Optus. And those 3 days, it was Melbourne weather. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it was like low 20s. And I'm like, good. I don't like the heat. So I was shocked. The hottest I think it got throughout those 3 days was like 28, and that wasn't even bad.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, no, when I was in Perth, it was averaging mid to high 30s every day. So I was loving it. I'm definitely someone that loves the heat.
That's fair enough. Are you a morning or night person?
To be honest, I'm a bit of both. If I'm in a really good routine, I love being up early. I've found like at the moment training requirements has seen me up having some very early rises and whatnot, which I'm really becoming accustomed to. So it's really good. But I also do love a night out. And to be honest, within a night out, it could be staying up watching a movie or spending time with friends and family. Not one to go out and party too much, but I'd like to say I'm a little bit of a mix of both.
I suppose depending on what month it is, if it's and all that type of stuff as well, and if it's summer, if it's autumn, if it's winter or spring as well. A whole factor of reasons as well. Now, if your team were to describe you in a word or a sentence, how would they describe you?
That's tough. I don't know.
How yourself in a word or
maybe funny. I tend to be the one that cracks the jokes around the club. So, or certainly one of them at least. I'd say there's a good group of us that tend to have jokes with one another, but probably that, yeah.
So now, team photo dates. Who is at any club? Who is the one that always has to just go overboard or has to make themselves look $1 million? They can already look like $1 million, but they just want to completely overdo it. Who is that person or people?
I'm trying to think who was good with media last year. That's a tricky one. We haven't had photos done this year as of yet, so no one's really springing to mind as a standout person.
Is there generally always someone though that does overdo it?
There's a few girls that I'd say definitely put a lot of effort into their appearance. Actually, probably one of my good friends as well, Tegan. She'll tint her eyebrows or like make sure eyebrows and hair and everything look good for training, games and whatnot. So I'd probably say Tegan.
How would you reckon she would feel then if she does all that and all that hard work into it, and in the first contest she gets slammed in the ground, the ponytail comes out, the hair's got mud on it? How do you feel she would react to that? She got all her hard work. This is why, I mean, you shouldn't put too much effort into it, because if the first tackle, you probably look different.
Oh, I think she's pretty lucky. She tends to just give it back to people, and if people try and tackle her, she's pretty good at breaking tackles. So, but I don't think she'd be too thrilled if her ponytail got messed up first tackle. That's for sure.
Yeah, it reminds me how you described it a little bit there. What I would do, not for that reason, not to stuff your hair or anything, but just not like, right, I'm going to get rid of it before they can even attempt to make me look different.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
All right, so okay, if you could poach obviously, being a part of the Swans training side of things and playing on the weekend, and obviously getting a good idea of how some of the best players in the AFLW competition side of things are. Who would you say is the best player in the competition? Obviously, you've got Laura Gardner, and what a great story. She's been from Geelong, not getting used there. And then Scotty told me last year, late last year, I had him on, the first training session she had, they were going to try her as a small forward. And then from that day onwards, it was like, she's a mid, and now look how good she is. You can throw Laura in that mix, Ali Morford, Mon Conti, Jazz Garner, Ash Riddell, Ebony Maroff. There's so many. I feel the AFLW competition, Abby, is really even in terms of that top line player. Who would you have in that spot?
Mon Conti is definitely one. She's a freak. She's so good at everything she does, and I think she's just absolutely nailed contest method as a whole, and she's just so effective around contests, and is someone that's so hard to stop in a game. But also, like, I feel like you can't look past your Laura Gardners, your Chloe Malloy, your Ali Morfitts, like all of those girls at the Swans. Like, they just work so hard, and they're just like, really phenomenal athletes. And I think, they really play their role really well. So I'd have to say, any of those four girls, you could say really just top tier at AFLW level.
For sure, and it just makes it even better. I know Chloe didn't play and Ali didn't play on the weekend, but it's nice to, be amongst them in some cases. I know Chloe was there on the weekend doing some coaching stuff, so it's just been cool to have, again, be part of a club in that capacity, but then also to mingle with them in some capacity as well. And saying, gee, that's her.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think, a bit surreal being surrounded by some of the big name players when you go to training and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they're just people as well. And I think, like, the fact that they've been so welcoming and treat you no differently just shows that, like, how good they are off the field just as well as how good they are on the field. So they're all just really lovely people.
For sure. Which AFLW team did you grow up supporting?
Grew up supporting the Giants. Started footy not long after they came into the competition, and growing up in Western Sydney. So, was definitely a Giants fan in my youth. But obviously, having my involvement with the Swans now, I've traded tracks, and definitely supporting the red and white this season.
Very nice. I mean, obviously, you would know with every state rivalry, in particular the three Queensland, or four Queensland, SA, Sydney and WA, is those two sides in the same states. They don't like each other. So how different is it for you now? Obviously, as you said, starting with GWS from a fan point of view, and then being involved with the Swans and now on their side. Is it interesting when they play each other for you, or are you now full-fledged Swan?
Oh, it's definitely interesting. I've had some relationships in terms of, like, really good friendships with some of the girls in the both AFLW sides, so Swans and Giants. But it's always interesting when that matchup comes up. It's like, do you support your friends or do you support the team you're training with? But no, definitely gonna have to back the red and white and everything that they're standing for as a club this year. And I definitely think still it's going to be a really good challenge when Swans and Giants come up against each other in the men's in a few weeks' time. I think that's going to be a cracking game to watch.
Both in men's there in bloody terrific form, both sides. Now, here's some key advice, Abby, you've been giving out. It could be recent from Scott or any other coach, Swans or any local club, or just throughout your whole entire football journey. What is some key advice you've been given on how to, I suppose, or advice on anything really, about football, about how to handle things? What's some key advice that's always stuck in your mind? It can be recent or a while ago.
Yeah, so definitely one. I think, like, in terms of even just people around me, like family and stuff like that, mum and dad have been super supportive of me and my footy career so far. And mum's always been a big one to say, like, it's you against you out there. So I think, like, just having, like, the battle of knowing how far you can push yourself is definitely one piece of advice that has really stuck with me, and it's something that I actually have. Like, I've got that engraved on my my game day ring, is you against you. So it's definitely one that stuck with me. And then I think just having confidence in your ability, like, that's something I've been taught and told numerous times through numerous coaches, and just being confident enough to know, hey, I'm actually good at this, and, like, this is what I can bring to a team, is something that's really, really powerful. And I think that's something that has really driven my growth. So I'd definitely say that's a piece of advice that stuck with me a lot as well.
Very nice. That's good to hear. Now, Abby, I know you're playing mainly as a defender, but what would you say is the best goal you've ever kicked at any level? I'm sure there's a goal at some point at some level that you've gotten, and if so, what's the best one?
Yeah, so I actually grew up playing as a forward. I've recently actually only made the change to halfback, although I am listed as a utility, so I like to play anywhere across the ground, forwards, mids, backs. So really, yeah, loving the switch up of playing at halfback last year for East Coast, and then obviously on the weekend with the Swans. But I'd have to say, like, some of my favourite goals were definitely my 2 grand final goals in the premiership win last year. They were, yeah, not my best goals I've ever kicked, but it was just great to be involved and to contribute to the team in that way.
I'm very sure that's awesome. And then you mentioned too, but being a utility. How important is being versatile and being a utility nowadays more than ever, I feel, because as you would know now, being a trainer on and playing alongside those girls, that versatility is very, very important, because if you're struggling in one spot, you're more than likely, unless you're on contract or someone like that, you're probably going to find yourself out of the team if you're not going so well and you haven't got versatility. So as you mentioned, playing in one position or 3 positions is just so important.
Oh, 100%. I think being a utility has really kind of worked in my favour. Like I mentioned, I'm quite a tall player, so having versatility across the ground as well, being able to use my height and my running capacity to try and contribute to the team across the ground, no matter where I play, I think is something that's really invaluable for a club. And I think just having that versatility as a player is just something that, like, you just need in today's game. Like, our game is constantly evolving and changing. So I think that the utility role as a whole is really coming into play a lot more in recent years and into the growth of the game.
Absolutely, it definitely is. All right, so you can pick the most unrealistic type of goal, Abby, you'd love to ever get. And in the moment, the distance, the angle, the occasion, what goal would you love to do? As I said, you can be as unrealistic as you want here.
I'd definitely say one goal that I'm going to try and do, whether it's this year or just in my career, is the kick over the head goal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I want to nail at some point in my career.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome. Just look, face the other way, kick it over your head, and then turn around and hope it's gone in.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I used to do, which sometimes, back then, some of the coaches and that didn't really like me doing it for too long, or when they wanted you to do, local as opposed to a bit different to Swans VFLW, for example, but, like you just have a kick, muck around type thing, or start kicking amongst yourself. And I would most of the time go to the pocket and always do shots on the boundary, snaps, dribbles, whatever. And that's probably why I can only still do that now when I do goal kicking, because I can't do set shots. We'll get into that stuff in a sec. But I used to against the point post and literally face the other side of the ground and do what you just did about kicking over your head, but from the pocket, leaning on the point post, right beside it, and just kick it straight up from there and hope it goes in. And I actually got a right at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that would be unreal if you could kick one of those, especially in a game. That's I'd say top tier goal for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how you get away with that in the game. It's like you'd have to be literally standing on the line and then make sure no one's tackling you, or somehow mark it there. I don't even know how that is possible.
I was going to say it'd have to either go out on the full or it'd have to be off a mark, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to stand there and go, wait, give me 10 seconds to set up. I don't think that's why. It's probably why Arlen did it for a bit of a muck around. But anyway, now in terms of goal kicking, would you be more confident from an angle, a distance, on the set shot, on the run, a pocket? How would you fancy yourself? What would you be your most confident one type of shot?
I'd probably I think it picks and chooses depending on the angle and the distance. But I've got a pretty good set shot routine that I tend to stick to. So I'd like to think I'm pretty confident from a set shot, but I also don't mind a snap on the run either. I tend to have a few of those in games.
That's good. You mentioned there a strategy about you have a routine when you do set shots. What is your set shot routine? Because I think these days we've seen a lot more. I won't say they're weird, but like weird as in they're very different. You always see the basic ones, but now we're openly in all forms of competitions. So a lot of these different ones, like Max King, me being a Saints fan, he's been doing it for a couple of years. He juggles the ball in his hand when he's walking in. He's just like spinning it all the time. Is yours just nice and basic, or do you have something fancy as well?
I wouldn't necessarily call it fancy, but I've got a few things that I do every time. I take my steps back, and then I flip the footy up twice, catch it, bend over, wipe both sides of my shorts, and then I tend to walk in and do my kick. But yeah, people think the wipe on the shorts is a little bit odd, but I think it's just something I use to kind of calm the nerves a little bit before I take my kick.
Something Abby, I've really noticed recently in doing my golfing challenge, because as I said, I don't play anymore. This is the only form of technically games I do. And I seem to just do this. Every time I go for a shot in the pocket, I seem to just tap like that, literally. It's like I'm pretending to brush something off, but I'm not actually brushing anything off. I just do that. I don't know why. Any video, you would see me doing that all the time. I don't know why I do it, but hey, it works, so I don't care.
I was going to say, whatever works, I say. Everyone's got their thing, and if that works for you, good job.
Thanks, I know. I don't know why now, but yep, it does. Now, all right. What are some fun facts, Abs, about you that people may not know about you?
That's a tricky one. Some fun facts about me. One fun fact that I don't tend to tell people. It's a bit of an embarrassing one. I used to be a cheerleader for the Parramatta Eels when I was younger. I only did it for 1 year. But yeah, like my sister did it for a few years with them, and she kind of got me involved when I was really little. But that's, yeah, a bit of a fun fact that I don't really share very often. Another fun fact is I used, like when I was in school, I could write with both my left and my right hand.
Cool.
I can't do it too well nowadays, bit out of practice, but yeah, did a few of my exams in school with my left hand. And then I'm trying to think of another one. Yeah, probably just like my other fun fact is just like sports that I've played or something like that. Yeah, I'm unfortunately not too exciting.
I like the first. The first two are really good. I mean, now again, I appreciate you mentioning the Parramatta Eels one, because I know, as you said, can be a tad embarrassing. Could you said your sister was involved? So how long ago was that? And were you like one of those ones that had the pom poms?
Yes. Unfortunately, I was one of the ones with the pom poms. Yeah, that was a good few years ago now. I think I was 6 or 7 at the time. So yeah, goodness, well and truly over a decade, nearly pushing 2 decades ago. So yeah, no, it was well and truly a good while ago now.
Yeah, nice. Yes, it's in the past, but that's good. Now, in terms of this could go anyway. Now, defenders, and I think I know where the answer will go, actually, because you're playing in the back line at the moment, Abby, but we'll see. So defenders, I feel like from an AFLW level in particular, they deserve a lot more love than they get. Obviously, the forwards have the Coleman, the mids got the Brownlow, the rucks get recognised in Brownlow for its abs. So do you defenders deserve an official title at that level as well, just like those other positions have?
I think yes. I think yeah, I'm not against bringing in a medal for the defenders, whether it's player, like courageous player of the year or something. I think your backs tend to be your most courageous on the field. They put their bodies on the line, that's for sure, to take some spoils and some pretty hectic marks. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be against having a backline award.
That's right. Yeah, the majority of people that ask this question are on your side there, and they say that. What I found really fascinating, though, Abs, is the few people that have said no, and the few rare people that have said no, some of them are defenders. Like, what the hell? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that shocks me. I wouldn't have picked that.
No, I wouldn't either. I was gobsmacked. And one of them, I remember very well, I don't know who it was, but they said that, like, they get recognised internally. I go, yes, but we're talking from a public point of view. Yeah, you can get praise internally all you like, and I'm sure lots of clubs do, but at any level. But from a public point of view, I don't, especially those top levels in particular, you don't really hear it. Yes, here they praise a player randomly here and there, but from an award point of view, there's none. There's none ever at the top.
Yeah, no, you definitely get the internal praise, especially from your teammates, whether it's pat on the back or whatnot after a play or in the best votes from the team point of view. But yeah, definitely think it's something that wouldn't go astray at a top level.
Absolutely, for sure. Now, go back to some goals. Mark or goalie, Abs? Which one would you rather do and why?
I'd rather take Mark of the Year. I think that's kind of, I guess you'd say, my weapon in terms of as a player. So yeah, I would absolutely love to have a Mark of the Year.
It's fair. I mean, you couldn't go wrong either way. I mean, I was a 50-50 answer. Personally, I choose a goal, but I mean, as I said, I do Golkin Johnson played, of course. I think it's pretty obvious why I would choose that. But yeah, I get everyone's answers. And I mean, it'd be pretty cool either way. Would you be one, though, Abs, to post it if you were to nail a Mark of the Year contender or a goal?
Oh, I probably would. Maybe an Instagram story or something if they shared it. I probably wouldn't post it myself. I'd probably only reshare a post from someone else. But yeah, no, I think it'd be pretty exciting.
That's fair. It would be. I mean, to be honest, and a lot of people say that because they want to be very modest, but I would do it. I'd post the whole thing. I couldn't care. I wouldn't wait for anyone to post. If I got the footage, I'm posting it. I couldn't wait. I'm not waiting for someone else to potentially share it. I'm just going to go find out myself and boast about it. Because look, unless your name's Jeremy Howe, no one gets a Mark or goal of the year every week or every year.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, no, I think I'd have to wait for someone to post it first.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, yeah. I mean, all jokes aside, some people definitely wouldn't wait for that as well. Now, who are some players either at your local club or at the Swans that are kind of impressed by? They kind of fly under the radar a little bit and don't really talk to you as much as you feel that they should.
I think there's a few. Like some in terms of local footy club. Like I think there's a lot of young girls at the moment that are playing at East Coast and like they're 16, 17 years old and like they're just so incredibly talented for such young players. Like you can talk about like Emily Prosser-Shaw, Darcy Prosser-Shaw, the two sisters that played East Coast, or you can talk about Lucy Watson from the Swans Academy, or like there's a whole list of girls that I could rattle off. But I think the youth coming through is just unbelievable, and I think they're only getting better every year, and I think the exposure that they're getting is really good. But I do think that they can fly under the radar, especially at a women's footy level, because they are coming up against bigger bodies where maybe like they don't excel as much because of the contact and everything, but their skills are just elite and they're only going to get better as they get older. But in terms of some older players, like you could even say like Renee Tompkins, like I know she played AFLW for the Giants for a few years, but even so, she's just absolutely unreal and is someone who's been so consistent for us at East Coast for so many years.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, and I feel like even at the Swans, I mean, you hear about Ali Moore for being a young star ruck, and you hear about Chloe Malloy and Laura Garner's finally getting her praises after all these years. But some other players at the Swans, and say what you like here, but I feel like BT, Brenna Tarrant is someone in the key defender role, in a similar role to you play, gets under Ella Heads, and they're both very young themselves, and they're going to bright for you. And I mean, that's why this is partially why I bring up the defenders question, because girls like BT and Ella and a whole bunch of others throughout the competition, they are a big reason why I bring up a question like this, because they don't get talked about publicly, at least, pretty much ever, and they deserve a lot more than they get.
Yeah, for sure. And like I actually I grew up playing like my younger years of footy with BT. BT used to play at East Coast with me. So I've known her for a fair few years now, and like she's just phenomenal and someone who I think deserves probably a bit more recognition than she gets from commentators or press or whatever it is. But she's someone that definitely I'd say flies under the radar a little bit. And then as you mentioned, like Ella Heads is another one who also played in AFL Sydney. I used to verse her when she was at Inner West Magpies and whatnot. And again, just someone who works really hard and I'd say flies under the radar a little bit as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I've gotten to know BT. I've had her on a few times. She's a ripper. I mean, I know firsthand she doesn't like talking about herself. But again, as I said earlier, having all these Swans players, I mean, a lot of them girls really rate both Ella as well and BT because, as I said, they don't get talked as much as they do. They do a bloody good job at their role. Now, in terms of this is interesting, Now, this is the part of the interview, Abs, where teammates' hearts get broken and teammates may love you more and more for doing so. All right, this can be related to any teammate questions, by the way, can be related to anything. They can be Swans, they can be local. So, the first one is, who is the best chatterbox club?
Caitlin Reid from East Coast Eagles.
Any particular reason why? Is it a good thing? Because, again, sometimes the best chatterbox can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, can be a mixture of both.
Just doesn't stop talking. Always has something to say. She's a doctor as her day job, so I think just knows a bit about everything, and yeah, definitely doesn't shy away from a chat.
Absolutely. I mean, well, the doctor's got to be vocal. They're going to know a bit of everything. And well, again, it's all a bit of banter here, but yeah, the doctor's got to know a lot about the medical side of things. But just because they're really good at that profession doesn't mean they're good at other things. Just because they're a high profile at that job doesn't mean they're automatically transition to something else.
No, that's very fair. No, she tends to know a little bit about everything, Reedy, and always comes up with some fun facts.
Absolutely. That's not a dig at her. That is just involved anyone at all. Again, this is probably another thing, Abby, and it's got nothing to do with teammates, but commentators. Now, this is always something, honestly, that's really annoyed me over time. It's ex-AFL players or automatically getting handed media jobs like commentary or analysts or whatever you want to call them and whatever role they're in. Like, there is some, don't get me wrong, that do it and earn it and deserve it. I feel like some people that just get handed those media roles because they've been ex-AFL players, which I feel I have more appreciation from guys. I don't know if you heard of them, Anthony Hudson, Mark Howard, two guys that do footy and some other sports, Jared Waitley as well, that really are really good at the job because they earned it the hard way. They didn't get it through playing AFL in these guys' examples.
Yeah, like I like to think you need a bit of a combination of both. I think like obviously those guys that work through like the uni and your typical journalist structure, like you definitely need people like that in those roles because they know the ins and outs and they've done the study. But I also think that ex-players can also bring in like a unbiased opinion and they kind of shed a different light on situations where you probably as an analyst or as a journalist you might not necessarily think of it like that because you haven't been in that player's situation, but no, I definitely think a mix of both is good for the game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely have people that have played it as well. I think sometimes they're overblown it sometimes, but I'm not going to name names because they'll just be silly. There's some that definitely have earned it. Now, going back to the teammates. So we talked about the best chatterbox. So who is the loudest and quietest teammate?
Loudest has to be Saint is her nickname. She's got the loudest laugh you'll ever come across. Quietest teammate, I'd probably have to say some of the young girls. I think it's probably more just a bit of a confidence thing and being around such outgoing girls as well. But I'd have to say, the young girls are probably the quieter ones in the group. And then, Saints is definitely the loudest.
Yeah. Now, if you were stuck on a deserted island, Abs, with teammates, who are you bringing and not bringing and why?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'd probably bring Brooke, really good banter, and I feel like she'd be good with survival skills. I feel like she'd be able to whip something out, start a fire or something. And then I'd probably bring Reedy for her doctor knowledge and medical knowledge. I reckon that's a safe bet. I don't know that there's anyone I wouldn't bring, but I definitely say you'd need some medical knowledge and you definitely need some entertainment and someone with good survival skills. So I think that those two would cover that off.
That's good. I mean, yeah, you would. Would there be anything in particular? Like if someone was to do something and you're like, okay, you do this, you're not coming. Was there any particular traits or things if you would say don't come?
I don't think there's anyone I'd say don't come.
Okay, that's good. So I suppose though you wouldn't want someone that's annoying going, would you?
Probably not, but I'd like to think that most of the girls in the team would be all right to be on a deserted island with for a little bit. I guess it depends on how long you're talking for. Like, are we talking 24 hours or are we talking a week? I think that would definitely change it.
Yeah, okay, that's very fair. I'll probably more think on the lines of non-stop, because a lot of people have said, that's why I asked, because a lot of people say, if why they wouldn't bring someone is because they talk your ear off, basically, is the words they use.
Yeah, to be honest, you'd almost get a little bit stuck if you got Caitlin Reid with you. I don't think she'd stop talking the whole trip, and she'd find some interesting facts to tell you. So maybe I'd need her medical skills, but maybe leave her just in terms of chatting.
That's fair. Leave the other stuff aside. Keep the doctor side of her here, basically.
Yes.
Very good. That's a good one. All right. So, celebrity crush.
Ooh, that's tough. See, if we're talking a footy one, I'm a big fan of Dustin Martin. He is really cool. Obviously my last name's Martin, so I named my cat after him. My cat's name is Dusty. So he's definitely the footy celebrity crush. But I'd have to say someone like Michael B. Jordan or something like that, or Madison Beard. Both of them are definitely up there.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Now, you mentioned some things earlier, Abs, that you said some people might not like that you do. So this might fit to this question. So what are some quirks that some people would say that you have that you wouldn't necessarily like to admit?
Some quirks. I think just me being a very structured person. That people might think I'm a little bit weird, or I do things a certain way, or things like that. They might think I'm a little bit odd for that. I'd probably just say, just the way I probably do a few things, people would think it is a bit odd. I don't really know what else. I'd probably say, like, I do talk a little bit, so maybe they might say I talk a bit too much as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with any of that. Now, go-to goal celebrations, Abs. What is your go-to goal celebration if you do have one? And if not, would you be one to consider options from people if they were to throw ideas your way?
Definitely open to some options. I need a new goal celebration for this year. I haven't thought of one just yet, but playing in the backs, I think I'm pretty safe for the at least next little while, hopefully. But my favourite one probably to date, I had a bet going with a teammate that if I kicked a certain number of goals that she had to get a tattoo of my choice. So I've had this bet twice now with her, and she's lost both times, and I think it was just the point at it to let her know that I've kicked that number of goals and that she's up for a tattoo. I think that's probably been my favourite one to date, and probably the funniest one as well.
Interesting. So, all right. So, if you're open to ideas, have you ever done or considered doing something like I can't do it holding the phone in one hand, but like the double cobra or the Stephen Keneally, obviously being an ex-Giants, he does that one. Obviously with his hands, he done that recently. I think last year, I think he done that. That's probably one. The double cobra is one I generally go to. But most recently, someone I done a golfing comp with, Abs. I don't know if anyone want to do this in the game, maybe in something like a challenge, but maybe not in the game. So they did like an aeroplane. They went around, they yelled out and then went around in a circle about 3 times with an aeroplane with arms like wings.
That's definitely an interesting one. I haven't seen that one before. One of my favourite ones as of late is the keep quiet with people going like this after a goal. Obviously a few players have used that one, but if you're getting a little bit of stick in a game and after you kick a goal, if they kind of shut up a little bit, you might bring that one out. But definitely open to some new ideas, and we'll probably look for a new goal celebration.
Love it. And then another one I just remembered, someone did a golfing one, they did the hand to the ear thing, like the shush, telling her to come on type thing, and then they're doing the hand gesture of come on like that. It's like, keep getting to it.
That's definitely a good one for sure.
Definitely. Crowd hecklers, Abs. how are you with crowd hecklers? Do you ever get any crowd hecklers? And I know, as I said, being at that game that you're involved in on the weekend at Whitten Oval, did you hear the cheer squads? There was some cheer squads from the Swans parents and family members as well on that side that I was on, and then obviously having some of the Bulldogs people yelling at about. Did you hear all that? And how are you with crowd hecklers?
I'd like to think I'm pretty good. I tend to just ignore most of them. If I need to, I'll probably throw a cheeky one-liner here and there, but I tend to try and just show no reaction. Could definitely hear the Western Bulldogs fans, especially when we were on the end closest to where like the ground is, like the grandstand and stuff. When we were down that end, there was a group of about 5 boys sitting behind the goals that were Western Bulldogs fans. So it was very interesting, and they were throwing a few comments here and there towards me. But it doesn't really faze me. I tend to just get amongst my game and keep my head down and do my job.
I did see that, Abs. I did see that. And the one thing, I mean, I don't know if you thought about it in the moment, the one thing if you were to do something and was without saying a word, Ab, you just turn around, because I know the scoreboard was on that end, and just point at the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one. Actually, a few of my teammates used in our grand final last year. There was a fair few UTS fans that were heckling us, and one of them, especially even some of the players, were heckling us a little bit. So a few girls in the team just kind of turned to them and pointed at the scoreboard, and they tended to not have a lot to say after that one. So it's definitely a good method.
Absolutely. Just shut them right up, Abs. That's the way to go about it. Now, the hot topic food questions, Abs. I'm so amazed at this Australian population about how worked up they get with some of these food questions. Now, fun fact, only 9 people have ever answered these 6 food questions how to I would, and only out of over 100 people. And 5 people have said this first question illogically incorrect. So I hope you're not joining a 5-person crew. So, chicken palmy. Is it a palmy or is it something else?
It's definitely a palmy.
Thank Christ. Good. All right, Abs. We're good. We're good. We're good. And you're 1 for 1. That's a good start. I don't understand why people say something else, because it's pronounced with an I and it's spelt with an I. I mean, it's just, it's a non-negotiable. It's got an I in it, not an A, not an E, not an EY, or whatever stupid variation they want to put, isn't it?
It's definitely with an I, so definitely got to go palmy.
That's right. And I feel so proud, Abs, that yesterday someone said the wrong answer, and I converted them over. I finally of the 5 people that said it, the one that said it, I said what I just said with the I. And I was, oh, shit. Now that you think about it, I hadn't really thought about that. I'll change it now. Yep, that's it. Good. I can fit into one of them. There's still 4 clowns around, but that's okay. Now, the next one. Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
No.
Good. Love it. 2 for 2. Right. Tomato sauce, cupboard or fridge?
Cupboard.
Good. I'm loving this. 3 for 3. On fire. And it's out quick. Favourite food?
That's tough. I'm either going to have to say barbecue pork ribs or pizza.
All right. Now, this could determine if I give this a tick or not. What pizza? Obviously, it's not with pie.
This is the thing. I'm allergic to dairy, so I don't have cheese on my pizza. But I'd have to say at the moment it's a meat lovers with no cheese.
All right. Now, I'm a cheese fan, but clearly for what the rest of you said, I'll cop that answer as it's you can't say it. So I'll accept that. So that is 4 for 4. Good start. Right. I'll continue to start. 2 more of this side of things. Food you don't like?
Obviously dairy. Can't really eat dairy. I'm
not
a fan of sweet potato. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. It's it's just like mushy. It's not really a big fan. To be honest, I'm just like I'm a very big savory eater. But a bit of a controversial one. I'm not a fan of a meat pie. I don't like a meat pie.
You know what? I mean, I don't hate them or anything, but I'm not going to go out of my way to go. Yep, like when you go to the footy and they got all these type of things. That's not the one I'm getting. If I get anything, if that's the one, not every time. It's not anyway, hardly. So I'll cop that. It's a 5 out of 5, Abs. Good job. Right. Favorite takeaway place?
Ooh, that's tricky. At the moment, I'm gonna have to go with El Giana, which is a chicken shop that I'm absolutely loving and will demolish.
I love that. Just going to demolish it. Now, to officially make this 6 for 6, what is the go-to order there?
The go-to order is a quarter chicken meal with chips and a side of Lebanese bread.
Okay. You know what? You're now the 9th person to get 6 out of 6 correct. Well done. Now, the cheese, had you not been able to have it, I would have given that a cross, but it's forced. So well done. 6 for 6. Good job. Now the 9th. Finally. Finally, I can add another one to the list. Right. Okay. So I got a few more for you, Abs. So I do really appreciate you coming on. So, what are some of your most prized possessions?
Some of my most prized possessions, I've got a ring from a family member. It's a bit of an heirloom. Ring from my nan. That's a pretty big prized possession for me. And then I'd probably just say like photos of me and family. I'm not a massive materialistic person, but definitely the ring is super sentimental to me and my family. And then I'd just say like photos and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I love that. That's good. So now this might have been answered before. Again, this is something, as you said earlier, that you don't really like mentioning, and this could feature again here. Hidden talents. Have you got any hidden talents, or would it be the 6-year-old version of you with the pom-poms?
Definitely not. That was definitely not a talent of mine. Hidden talent. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good body surfer. Don't mind catching waves. Anything like that. Or I'm really good at Sudoku. That's probably my hidden talent. I'm really good with numbers. So Sudoku is probably my hidden talent.
That's a good one. And now that you mentioned the surfing side of things, are you a pro surfer?
No, I wish. I give it a crack. But no, definitely would not say I'm a pro at all. Far from it.
I'm waiting for someone to say that, because the reason I say that is because it's funny when someone mentions surfing, it just comes back in high school. So I'm 25 now, so it was a long time ago. Was surfing at school year 10 or 11, I think it was. They made us do sports at PE, go to a place in Geelong called Torquay and go on the surfboard and try and surf on it. And I tell you what, the only time, Abs, I was standing on that surfboard was when the board was on the sand, not the water.
Yeah. No,
That's
for sure. It's definitely it's a very humbling sport. Let's just say that. I recently went to Hawaii and went surfing for the first time in a little while, and it was very humbling. It's one of those skills that isn't like riding a bike, unfortunately. It's definitely something you can forget what to do.
Now, you just mentioned there about Hawaii. How is it like with communication and with currency, like with money inside of things? Obviously, it's be a bit different, obviously, how it works with other countries and money. Was that something that was hard to adjust to?
I went there just for a family holiday, so the dollar's obviously not fantastic, but it was only there for a short period of time.
Okay, well, that's all right then. All right, so just a few more for you. So, game day superstitions. I think you mentioned a little bit before about routine and stuff, but have you got any game day superstitions that strike out?
Yeah, I wear a headband on game day, so I wear the same headband every week. And then I also have to listen to the one song before I go out on the field. I have my headphones, and it's the one song that I listen to before I run out.
Nice. What is that one song?
That song is Headlines by Drake.
Okay. Did you do that on the weekend?
I did, but it was on the bus, so it was slightly different than usual. It was obviously a very structured warm up and whatnot with the girls, so didn't really have the time to listen to it. Listened to it on the bus before I hopped off. So it was the last song I listened to before the game.
Yeah. Okay. You're like compromised in a way, so that's good, I guess. You compromised, so that's good. For sure, that's awesome. Now, 2 more, so I appreciate coming on. If you were the AFLW CEO for a day, what rule are you adding and/or removing?
Ooh, I'm probably adding. I know it's not a official, but I'm probably adding a rule about front on contact in like marking contests. I think it's one that probably could be introduced. Either that, or it should be play on if it hits the post and comes back in the field of play.
I've heard that a few times recently, Abs. I think that's the one that a few people are starting to jump on.
Yeah, no, if it hits the post and comes back in the field of play, I reckon it's play on.
No, I don't mind that. I'm starting to warm to that for some reason now, for a few people saying that. In terms of removing, would you remove anything like the stand rule or?
No, I quite like the stand rule. I think it's pretty good, and it's definitely helped the game evolve as well and get the running capacity going. So I don't think there's any I'd get rid of.
Okay, that's a good thing. I'm sure the AFL would love to hear that. It's not that I guarantee there's a lot of people that they don't want. Now, last one, I appreciate you coming on, Abs. If you can map out a dream scenario for yourself from right now till the end of the football season, how would you love this year to pan out for yourself?
We'd love to see another VFLW game with the Swans. That's definitely step one on that journey. And then I'd love to win a three-peat with East Coast. I think like that's something that would be absolutely unreal to add to the footy resume. And then would love to top off my season with an AFLW opportunity, whether it's as a train on or being picked up by a club. That's definitely, I'd probably say my 3 goals for the year.
That's what happened there. Really good ones. I mean, and as you said, even if the rest of these VFLW games don't happen, your first game, which as I said, being there first game was fantastic, and credit to yourself for doing that. It can be a hard thing to do to play alongside some of the girls you played with. So, Abs, I really appreciate you coming on, and all the best for the rest of that VFLW season. You've done that, the local footy as well, and hopefully more success at the end of the year. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Kuba. Appreciate you having me.
No worries, anytime.